Grace. I suspected that Taran was different from the beginning, but it surprised me that she was a strain. Did Aunt Emlyn bind her powers too? That can't be. She doesn't even know her existence. And then finding out I am going to have another child with Ulrich, but I'm dead, so how am I going to give birth to her? The moon goddess probably noticed that I was lost in my thoughts, so she said, "I know you have many questions, so where do you want me to start?" asked Artemis. We sat on one of the benches under the maple tree, whose most leaves had fallen off the ground. How about you start from the beginning? Who created the same species rule? There wasn't a rule until they started fighting over the same love, cheating left and right and the likes. It dates back thousands of years ago. You've heard about Eros. I nodded. The god of love. He showered everyone with this gift, and it was peaceful. Lots and lots of children came into this world. The world is happy. Everything moves in harmony. Until one day, Thanos had enough of it. He was so miserable with his life that he didn't want to see anyone happy if he was not pleased. Thanos is the god of jealousy. I said to her. Yes, he told Eros that if the gods are not allowed to be in a relationship with the other species, especially humans, why must the rest have different treatment? Eros pondered what Thanos told him and agreed. The same rule that applies to the gods will be given to all species. But he made a condition. That's what is the condition? Well, the strains are Eros' favorite for some reason, and so he said, if one of the strains fell in love with another kind, obviously other than a witch, a human, and have an offspring that would contain a glowing ink on the forehead, the species are free to love whoever they want. However, it's been kept a secret. Since the pact was made, all of us were sworn to secrecy, unless we were talking to the chosen one. I felt like smirking, but I didn't even want to try since I was talking to the moon goddess. It's child's play. We are all pawns in the game of the gods and goddesses. How bored are they to play with our lives like this? Wait, there's a chosen one. Yes, the gods and goddess can be bored too. Artemis smiled. I don't know whether to smile back or just frown. She just confirmed what I was thinking earlier. So, there's a chosen one? I asked her. Artemis nodded. The chosen one is you. Me? What the? I shook my head in disbelief. I can't be the chosen one, I'm dead. That can be fixed, depending on some conditions. Conditions? Again. Now, what is your next question? Wait, so if that offspring doesn't have the glowing ink on the forehead, the rules will never change. Everyone would just keep avoiding each other until one of them takes a chosen mate or die alone. Exactly. That's absurd. As I looked around, all I saw was blood, torn limbs, anger, and hate radiating from all directions, and it's suffocating. Draining even. No wonder the world has turned into a miserable place. But you are here now, and that's all that matters, Eros, and I have waited for you for a very long time. When Amari fell for a human, we were outraged. And it's only because every year we wait for someone like you to be born, and we get disappointed every single time. I was so mad that I stripped all her baby's powers and kept them at bay. Later on, I realized that I acted on impulse, and what I did was not fair, so I promised my father that if Amelia bears a child, all the powers she should have had would be given to her son or daughter. But Alandra was too jealous. So she asked one of the gods to help her get rid of the baby. Do you know who would benefit from Alandra's hate? The god of hate. Ares, yes. He feeds from hate, terror, and violence. The baby was taken to New York and left outside the city hall. She kept crying until someone out for an early jog heard her and took her to a nearby police station. No one claimed the baby, and she was entered into the system. No one knew her name, And even the necklace she had inside her blanket didn't have her name. It was just a ruby stone at the back of an ANKH pendant. From Amelia, she became Dawn Aspen. Your mother grew up in a foster home. Although the family she went to never hurt her physically, she was never treated like family. She never felt their love. Your mother left as soon as she turned 18 and lived on her own. Some years after, she met my father. I said to her, Alistair Black. Yes, Amelia and Alistair were fated mates, but they were weak. Alistair knew that his father would never want a human for a Luna. He was torn between the pack and the love of his life. It took a while to make up his mind, and in the end, your father chose Dawn. Don't get me wrong. Your parents love each other, and you're the product of that love. At least I was made out of love, and not just a loveless one night of passion. Unfortunately, some focused on personal gain. Take Aurora, for example. If she didn't interfere with your parents, you would grow up having him around. But she wasn't thinking right. All she was concerned about was pleasing her father with the alliance to High Crown and giving her child a complete family. You knew what she did before the battle. Why would you save her? Asked Artemis. Because two wrongs don't make a right. I have already lost my mother. Why would I lose another one? I gained one when I chose to be with Ulrich. Artemis looked pleased. You're not mad at her. I don't dwell on anger anymore. I was mad, but I knew I was going to die. Naya said so, and even though Erica tried to convince me that it's not for sure, I still chose to live my life like it's my last. I sighed. To tell you the truth, I'm not happy with what she did years ago. I am also not happy that she kept lying about everything even though she knew my son would have a horrible fate. But you see, she is also sad and scared. I know deep in my heart that Aurora loves my son. How could she not? Kane is her grandson. Most would think she lived her life happily with my father because they saw her smiling. But they are wrong because her secrets are weighing her down. 27 years is quite a long time. I don't ever want to be in her shoes. But you didn't see that, said Artemis. I didn't have to see it with my eyes. I can feel her pain and misery. I said to her. Artemis didn't say anything back. Can I ask you about Taran? Artemis nodded. The ANKH on her wrist wasn't there before. How come it's showing now? It's faint, and the only reason why it's showing now is that Alandra is within close proximity. What happened to her? Why did she say she's an Omega? Because unlike what happened to you, they can sense that she's a she-wolf. Taran never shifted when they thought she should have. They made up their mind and ranked her as an Omega. That makes sense. And her parents? What happened to them? When Rhea ran away from her mother, she met Randolph, who was visiting Ontario. He fell in love with her, but knowing the rules, Randolph chose to keep her hidden from everyone except her beta. They built a little house near the stream. The supplies gets delivered every week, so she won't get hungry. She is free to visit places. But since it's about a half-hour walk to get to the bus stop, it's challenging, especially in the winter. When Rhea found out that she was pregnant, he told Randolph. He was over the moon. Both of them are excited about the baby. They kept guessing if the baby was going to be a boy or a girl. Randolph prepared himself to tell his father about his child. He was determined to bring Rhea to Moon Valley, and if they won't have her, he would give up his title of being an alpha. But a tragedy happened. Rhea gave birth to the baby a couple weeks early. Randolph was out west and couldn't get to her on time, so he sent his beta to get them. His instructions were clear: take Rhea and the baby to Moon Valley and get them the medical attention they need. When Randolph came home to Moon Valley, there was no baby, and Rhea is not there as well. What happened? Rhea was found dead near the stream, and the baby went missing. Beta told Randolph that he came too late. Something doesn't add up to that story, but I was afraid to ask. I know I can figure it out on my own later on. If you have no more questions, I would like to give you a gift, said Artemis. Another gift? You already gave me so much. This one is different. I've never given it to anyone, but you deserved it because your heart is pure. I want to give you immortality. To say I am shocked is an understatement. Some people want to live forever, but not me. I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you, but I can't accept it. Why not? Artemis looked confused. I don't want to go through this life without the people I love. I look up at the tower. My son is there and waiting for me to come home. I searched for Ulrich and pointed at him. The love of my life thinks I'm gone forever and ready to end his life too. And lastly, I searched for my father. And right there is someone I didn't have a chance to know yet. I just want to live a life with my family around, and let fate take its course. If it's not too much to ask, I would like to go back and show my family how much I love them. Artemis looked pleased. Any other wishes? I shook my head. Nothing else. Your wish is granted, Grace. I am so proud of what you've become. Amelia will be so pleased if she sees you now. By the way, I enjoyed our conversation very much. Thank you, Your Grace. No, thank you. Thank you for showing us that rules shouldn't dictate who we love. Artemis gave a small smile. I will reset the time, and you will wake up after Alandra drains your life force. Your heart will stop for a few and will restart when Taran touches you. What do I do next? Her eyes had a different glint, and she said, You'll see, it's a surprise. Artemis. Mitika's peak. When I walked Grace back to where her body was, I couldn't help but give her a hug. She's such an amazing person, and I wish others could learn from her. And now, I am back at Mitika's peak. Hades had too much drink and looked sleepy. As much as I want to wake him up to watch the greatest battle end, it's better if I watch it on my own. Besides, he has ways to see it after if he wants to. I waved my hand to reset the time to when Willow saved Dusk. As Willow dropped on the ground, Alandra came to drain her life force. Taran. It's hard to watch from the tower, but I understood why they wouldn't let me go out and fight with them. I had nothing to offer except taking care of Grace's precious son. He was restless earlier, but when I put Grace's shirt on my chest while singing to him, Cain recognized his mother's scent and felt comfortable. It didn't take long for him to fall asleep. I put him to bed and made sure he wouldn't get cold. I noticed how Queen Emlyn kept looking at me. It was as if she was trying to study every move I made. As to why, I have no idea. I'm just an Omega trying to live one day at a time. I wanted to talk to Grace about something weird this afternoon. For a moment, I felt like I was different. But when I saw her in a hurry to get out of the kitchen, I thought she was busy and would like to get as much time with her child, so I won't interrupt. By the time she got upstairs, I was back to my old self. Maybe I'm just having anxiety about tonight's fight. I walked towards the window and saw Grace's wolf, Willow, fighting several vampires at once. I recognized her, as she had a bit of silver on her ear. But everything happened so fast, and now Willow is down on the ground for saving Dusk, Aurora's wolf. Come on, Willow, get up. Get up. You can do it. I whispered to myself. But Willow looked tired and badly hurt from the collision. As she tried to get up slowly, one of the dark witches held her head. Some magic was happening, and I didn't know what it was at first until Willow's body went limp. She shifted back to her human form. That's when I knew that my friend was gone. Grace. I shouted from the tower, as if she could hear me. I know she entrusted her son to me, but her aunt is here, and she can protect him. I just know that I have to go to Grace immediately. I ran towards the door and didn't look back. I almost tripped running down the stairs, but I didn't care. My tears won't stop falling for losing my first friend, who didn't make me feel inferior. Grace is my first friend, who didn't care if I was an Omega. She didn't care if I didn't have a degree, or if I was a housemaid. She saw me as someone who deserves respect no matter what my rank was in the pack. Even when she found out that she was a hybrid and came with extraordinary powers, Grace didn't treat me any different. For her, I wasn't just her friend, but a sister that she needed to protect. I knew why she told me to stay in the tower with her son, and that's to make sure I stay alive, as Queen Emlyn would protect us. I didn't care how I was going to get to where she was. All I know is that I will get to her, or I will die trying. An Omega won't interest anyone anyway. When I finally reached her, I took off my jacket and covered her. I closed her eyes and tried to drag her body away from the courtyard. I didn't know a vampire was about to attack me until a white wolf jumped and saved me. Our eyes met, and for a second, I felt like I'd known him all my life. That's when I heard someone shout the name Rhea. Who the hell is Rhea? The dark witch that killed Willow is looking at me like she has seen a ghost. She looked old but not frail at all. Her eyes are fixed on me. The white wolf didn't leave my side and protected me, but the dark witch started taking a step, and I was afraid that my savior would meet the same fate when Erica came. She used her powers to prevent the witch from coming at me. Every step she takes one step back. Erica gave me a vial from her pocket and said to pour it into Grace's mouth. But I know Grace is gone, and I don't understand why she wants me to do it. For the first time since we met, Erica shouted at me while crying, and I realized that she was mourning her cousin, her best friend, a sister. They were together far longer than Grace and I were, but the pain is equally unbearable. It was as if our soul was ripped out from our bodies and torn into pieces. But as I was about to pour it, something knocked on my hand, and the liquid from the vial spilled on the ground. No! Erica screamed so loud, and that's when Grace opened her eyes. Another witch with a darker shade of red came beside Erica and fought off the dark witch, who seemed to be not fighting back. The old witch is freakishly strong for someone as old as her. Who is she? Grace. It took longer than expected to wake up by a few minutes, but now I am awake, and the four of us are together. Together, you are stronger. I heard the moon goddess whisper from the air. Grace, you're alive. How? Asked Taran. I nodded to her. Thank you, Taran. Erica and Amelia kept looking at me with wide eyes as they fought Alandra together. Nothing had changed when I woke up. Everyone is still fighting, and the eclipse is about to happen soon. I looked for Havoc, and he was fighting with Valentine. Both of them were so engrossed with their fight that they didn't realize I had come alive. Let's get this fight over with, I said to the three of them. Alandra. When I decided to kill Grace's wolf earlier, it was because Valentine double-crossed me. I shouldn't have trusted a blood-sucking monster like him. He fooled me into believing he knew where my grandchild was when, in fact, he didn't really know. My plan is to take my grandchild with me and leave the rest of them to shred each other into pieces. But I hated being lied to, and if my grandchild does not exist, the best way to stop the prophecy is to kill Grace. If Valentine gets a hold of her, he will be more potent than the rest of us, and that's what he truly wants. Without Grace, Shadow Moon won't have a queen as powerful as my sister. Amber's line will end with her granddaughter, the same way mine died with Rhea. But just when I thought all hope was lost, I saw a woman dragging Grace's body away from the courtyard. And I can't be mistaken, she looked similar to Rhea. My daughter is alive. Maybe the moon goddess took pity on me and brought back my daughter. I may have not seen Rhea for a very long time, but her face is etched in my mind. Rhea! I called out to her, but she looked at me like she didn't know me. Was it because I looked older? Yulin's daughter joined forces to stop me from coming, but my focus is not on them, but on the woman who looked like my daughter. It's not like the sisters can kill me anyway, so I'll just let them do what they want until they get tired. One step forward, one step back. But I got the surprise of my dark and worthless life when Grace's eyes opened, and she smiled at the woman I thought was Rhea. She called her Taran. My heartbeat went faster as I doubled my steps. I've never felt so alive until now. I won't be alone anymore. She's here. She's really here. Taran is my granddaughter. But before I got to her, I saw Valentine throw the alpha of High Crown in the air and came fast to get Grace as the eclipse was about to happen. Selfish blood-sucking monster. I wouldn't interfere if my granddaughter didn't use her body to shield Amelia's child. No. I screamed. I know Valentine won't stop at anything to get Grace, and when I saw him about to kill Taran, I blinked, and in a split second, I was in front of Rhea's daughter. I hugged Taran tight and took Valentine's merciless wrath. I felt Valentine's hand, trying to rip my heart out from my chest. Why, you're safe now, my child, I said to Taran, with blood dripping from my mouth. Elaine's daughters and Grace stood there frozen in shock. Everything I did wrong in my life, from Amari down to my own daughter, came flashing in my head. All my poor choices and living my life with so much jealousy, anger, and hate led me to lose everyone who loved me dearly. I thought being the most powerful witch would give me more. But instead, I lost everything. I looked into Taran's eyes and saw the moment I gave birth to Rhea. I fell for a human just like Amari during the darkest moments of my life, and I didn't know what to make of it. The rules forbade me to take him as my husband. And my disappointment grew bigger when I found out Rhea was not like me, but a human like her father. I worked hard to find a cure, even when she was not sick. And every time I fail, I take it out on her until she gives up on me and runs away, only to never return. If I knew it was going to be the last time, I would have loved her more instead of spending time fixing something that was never broken in the first place. When she died, I mourned her. All the anger I have intensified. Because no matter what I do now, I have no one. I have no reason to turn my life around and be good for once. Until this night. As my body went limp and my vision dimmed, I looked at the 4 strains in front of me for the last time. I whispered softly, Quadur Maleficus. Ares told me about it a long time ago, and I didn't believe it until now. How could I when I know my daughter is gone and one of them has to come from my line? As Taran held me in her arms, I saw Grace shift to her wolf form with a glowing ANKH on her forehead. She suspended Valentine into thin air, using only her mind. The chosen one is here. Artemis. Medika's peak. The fight is almost over as everything around them turns red. Frosty half-blood moon eclipse is here. I smiled and felt proud of how things were coming along. Hades woke up and was upset that he had lost the bet with me. He left without saying goodbye, but I know he will visit me soon for another bet. And I will prove him wrong once again when the time comes. It's funny when others think things are ending, when it's only just the beginning. Alandra didn't die in vain. She and Rhea might be gone, but their memory lives on with Taran. Taran's NKH on her wrist is glowing as Alandra takes his last breath. Taran felt a tug in her heart, not knowing who the old woman was. She gave her a kiss on the forehead and thanked her before laying her lifeless body on the ground. That's when she noticed the glowing symbol on her wrist, and looked at the 3 strange witches in front of her. Taran is one of them. She has the same thing. I heard her wolf waking up, and right now, Taran is hearing her for the first time. Kiki sounded very happy. Quatuor Maleficus contains the 4 elements, and Taran has earth. It's up to her which path she will follow. Taran inherited all of Alandra's powers, except the power of absorption. That will be returned to the god that gave it. And now, she also has the powers I didn't grant Rhea. If Alandra can change, I believe Taran will make better choices. She will prove the prophecy of Moon Valley wrong. Soar high, my darlings, and make me proud. Finale. Artemis. Matica's Peak. It was red everywhere from the sky, with the eclipse in full swing down to the ground, filled with everyone's blood. Willow's cage on her forehead glowed. It didn't take long for her to suspend Valentine into the air and freeze everyone else around her except for Amelia, Erica, and Taran. I made sure they could not use their powers against each other. I learned that the hard way with the Strange sisters, and this time I will do better. Let me go, Grace. Valentine shouted. The only part of his body moving at this time is his head and mouth. But Willow remained quiet and separated all her allies from the enemies, using her mind, and placed them behind her. She made sure that they would be safe when the Quatuor Maleficus finally put Valentine to rest. As for Taran, she put her hands and knees to the ground and let Kiki take over. She transformed into a white wolf with a black spot on her right ear. Unlike Willow, she doesn't have a glowing cage on her forehead. 2 wolves. 2 witches. Quatuor Maleficus are in it together. Willow unfroze her allies, and they all looked bewildered with what's happening in front of them. They recognized Willow leading a new team, and how their enemies were no longer attacking them. When Willow howled loudly, Erica and Amelia's hands started glowing. And Kiki did her first howl. It was a signal that they were all ready to finish the fight. The Chosen One set her enemies on fire, leaving Valentine to see it all. Grace, don't do this. We need to fulfill the prophecy. We still have time. You and I can rule the world. Valentine has lost his damn mind. His army is about to be toasted, and all he can think about is saving himself. What a selfish creature. He made his bed, and now he's got to lie in it. And as they turned to ashes, Erica controlled the air and kept the particles near each other. She spun them around and created a mini tornado. Just then, Amelia willed the water from the pond and mixed it with the ashes, before turning it into a big rock. That's when Kiki hit the ground hard with her paw and split it in half, careful not to hurt her allies. And for the final show, Willow dropped the rock and sent it to the bottom of the pit before Kiki closed the ground again, as Valentine screamed to the top of his defunct lungs. While I was watching the final battle, I heard my father's voice. Artemis, the battle has ruined my mood of watching the eclipse. That's when I saw lightning flash across the sky and heard the booming thunder. The cold wind rushed across the courtyard stronger than before, but no one wanted to move from their stance. It's almost done, father, I said to him. The wolves howled against the angry pouring rain. And just when everyone thought it was all over, Willow leaped into the air and tore Valentine's head from his body before blasting him into a million pieces. Grace, the battle is over, but I know this is only the beginning. I have been given a responsibility by the moon goddess to guide everyone as I see fit. That's right, guide, not rule. Even with these gifts, it will not be easy, but I will try my best not to fail her. Everyone was given the capability to think for themselves. How they live their lives is up to them. They just have to be reminded that for every action, There is always an equal reaction. There are so many ways to say it, but I will just make it simple. Do good, and good will come to you. The rain has stopped, and the sky is now calm. It looks like the moon goddess is on good terms with her father again. It's nice to have everything back to normal. The eclipse is over, and the moon has turned white. Around it are twinkling stars that looked like tiny diamonds dancing and celebrating with us for winning the fight. I don't know if I would call it a victory, as I don't like having casualties. I just know that I will forever be grateful to those who came to help us, even when they had no reason to do so. As for Taran and me, we shifted back to our human form. Amelia made sure we had clothes before following her sister towards the pile of bodies who risked their lives to save mine. Victor and Hans were there to support them both. I felt Taran tense when the Alpha of Wintercrest came to see her. I know she has a lot of questions about herself, but Aunt Emlyn is here, and I have some answers for her as well. Together, we will make sure that she is not left in the dark. I have no doubt that Taran will give justice to her mother's death once she learns that Aunt Rhea was murdered. I just really hope that her sorrow doesn't turn into hate. What a prophecy of Moon Valley will come true. A lot of lives were lost tonight, and it hurts to watch everyone say goodbye to their loved ones. Amelia and Erica are helping out with the mess in the courtyard, along with the other witches of Shadowmoon who survived. While Taran, she kneeled beside her grandmother's lifeless body and held her hand. By now, Kiki must have told her relation to the old woman. My eyes searched for my husband, and I was beginning to worry when I felt a pair of arms wrapped around me. I let out a sigh of relief and leaned back against his chest. This is one of those moments where both of us don't have to say anything. Our hearts will do the talking as we feel each other's warmth. I turned around and faced him after a few minutes, and instead of him kissing me on the lips, he planted a kiss on my forehead. He said, "I was so scared when I lost you. Thank you for coming back for Kane and me." I smiled at him, and I felt so tempted to tell him about Kendra, but I will save that for another day. We are going to be together for a very long time, Alpha. The prophecies can keep coming as much as they want, but as long as we believe in each other, nothing can come between us. I hugged him tightly, and he stiffened. Ulrich is hurt. I placed my hand on the side of her right rib, and it glowed. Yes, I can heal anyone. A new gift from the moon goddess. Not too far from Ulrich and I are our parents. Aurora and Alistair have gone back to non-speaking terms, and time can only tell when they will be back to the way they were. If and when, only the moon goddess knows. The pain and betrayal between the two of them run deep, but I have no doubt that one day I will see them forgiving each other. After all, other things may change us, but we start and end with the family.